Hello, everyone, and welcome to Anatomy of an Adaptation. This is usually a podcast that aims to compare and contrast classic novels with their cinematic adaptations, but today we're doing something slightly different once again. I'm your host, Nicolo Grasso, and I'm joined by my good friend, Rafael Félix. How are you doing, Rafael? What have you been playing recently?
Well, I have been playing a lot of stuff. I have been playing some horror and zombie stuff, and maybe not what we are talking about that much. Maybe other zombie games, maybe some Resident Evil games,
Hey,
but
maybe.
but we have some different zombies to talk about now.
Yeah, I'm very excited, very excited. We had a conversation a few months ago, beginning of the year, talking about The Last of Us season one. Um, we both came out of it, I would say, very positive with the game. We had some reservations, I think myself more than you,
Yes.
on the TV show itself. But we did that because we were just eagerly anticipating the second season of HBO's show. I had not played the game as of yet, but now finally, Last of Us Part 2 came out on PC. I've played it almost to completion. I'm missing literally the epilogue, the last Santa Barbara chapter. Um, and I've also seen the TV show. So that's what we're doing today. Just as a little bonus episode during this summer, during the heat wave, to talk about The Last of Us Part 2 and The Last of Us Season 2.
You want to tell me what's going on with you?
What's going on with me? Ellie, I just saw you breathe spores.
I told you. I'm immune.
Okay, you're immune? Come on.
I was bitten a long time ago.
The fuck are you talking about?
I was bitten and nothing happened. Now you know.
Raphael, we talked about The Last of Us and your love for it previously in the other episode. But what are your thoughts on The Last of Us Season 2? I know it's a game that's very dear to you, very special. What was it like experiencing it for the first time? And what was it like revisiting it over the years?
Um, with The Last of Us Part Two, it was always a difficult thing because The Last of Us, the first part. Now the first part, before it was just The Last of Us.
Sorry, Raphael.
Uh, now they renamed it. It was my favorite game of all time. One of my favorite stories of all time. And I was always very eager to for part two. However, I did not have a platform to play it when it came out because it came out on PS4 back then, like in the end cycle of one of the end cycles of PS4.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to play it and experience. So I've stayed away from spoilers for around 4 years. I think I really tried hard. I started the game without knowing pretty much anything about it.
Which is
Like,
impressive,
which is
honestly.
absolutely it's one of my most dearest achievements I've made. It's like managing to stay away from any kind of spoilers for Last of Us Part Two. And then when I played it, it I don't know, it elevated even the first part. I think I cannot really, as of today, like separate the two parts. There's these stories are very integrated on each other. And even though I didn't know anything about the game, I did know about people were absolutely hating it, like with passion.
That's an
Um,
understatement.
yes, I'm sure we'll get around to it at some point in this episode. But I finished the game, and I pretty much hated the general public because of it, because I came to the end of the game and I felt this is one of the best things I've ever played in my life. And it's probably, again, the best story and the best arcs and the best narrative twists. It's so bold and courageous to do what they did with the how they advanced the narrative in The Last of Us Part Two. Um, that I don't know. As of now, I cannot separate the two of them because they're so integrated, well integrated with each other. I love them both the exact same way. Both part two and part one and part two.
The Last of Us Complete Experience or whatever it's called. I
Yeah,
think there's like a new disc or
yeah.
something that came
They do
out.
keep getting those out in different editions.
Of course, if it
You
prints
need to
money,
milk.
Naughty Dog, just keep
It's an
pressing
easy
it.
money. It's easy money.
um, yeah, no, that's great. I remember, unfortunately, I also like generally speaking for the listeners. Today we're talking full spoilers of what happens up until the end of day 3 for Ellie. Maybe some spoilers for what happens after, but very light towards the end of this conversation. And also, we're talking about all of the spoilers from the season 2 of the show. So if you've seen all of these, there won't be anything major for the game and for things you don't yet know. But unfortunately, I was spoiled the shit out of the game when it came out. I was terminally online at the time, and I remember people absolutely, yeah, going apeshit about it for multiple reasons. But I think the main one was what happens early on in the game, which is, of course, the inciting incident to the entire experience of The Last of Us Part 2, which is the death of Joel. And not just, a random death, a casual death, an heroic death. It's a vengeful death, it's a brutal death, one that involves torture, one that involves very, very graphic use of a golf club, and one that brings so much rage by design to gamers, on gamers. It is interesting. Like I'm kind of surprised that there was such a strong negative reception to that in the game. Of course, it's not the only reason why the game was criticized by some fans, but how do you feel about that as a whole? Just the fact that you've spent, let's say, 12 hours playing The Last of Us Part 1, we end with Joel deciding to save Ellie, ignore and not trust the Fireflies with their surgery that might bring the end of the virus, the zombie virus, the epidemic, the fungus. How do you feel about this? Just, some people say unceremoniously killing him. I wouldn't say that. I think there's a lot of gravitas actually, and
Yes, yes.
so much.
I think the and I just replayed it like 2 hours ago. I replayed the whole segment just to until Joel's death. And something that I've noticed now more than I was trying to look at it like in a more critical way, the way the first like 3 hours of the game, let's put it like that, interchange between to the characters. So you start in a very brief moment opening with Joel,
Hmm.
then you get in a very brief moment, I'm pretty sure, Ellie, then Abby, and then you go switch around between them. You experience the different sides of the narrative over and over and over again in very short spans of time, and it makes you connect and remember why you love these characters. It makes you wonder what is. I remember when I was playing it the first time, like, who is this? Why am I playing with a complete unknown?
Mm.
And it was not Bob Dylan. So, but I think that the way they build that all first 3 hours until you get to that point, it is to create the sensation that yes, something here is not right, and the way it escalates, even with the little things that you hear about Eugene and then the East Connection Fireflies. There's a lot of little stuff which has always been something that I really loved about The Last of It is that there's a lot of detail in little things, little passages that kind of
Hmm.
brings the whole world up to completion. But I do not think that death means anything, or if it's gratuitous violence, as I've also heard. I don't think it's any of that. It's just the concept. Even if your choices are made with the most purest, the purest form of art, even if it comes with cruelty, as we've seen in the end of both season one and the first game, those actions do. bring consequences. And the side of the story you were experiencing, it's always of the hero. But The
Hmm.
Last of Us always kind of played with that idea of who is a hero, who is not. Is Joel actually a good guy or not? Is Ellie? Now we're experiencing the Ellie part of that, and season two questions that a lot. Um, so I think the way Joel dies, and it's not that different from even stuff that we've heard he described to have done to others when he needs information or
Hmm.
torture. There is suggested multiple times during the show and the game that he was not in a good place. Yes, he did stuff to survive, but there was some cruelty to it as well. There was some rage in him, of course, because of what happened to his kid. So I think that is just nonsense, thinking that that moment in particular is devoid of meaning or gravitas. I think that is absurd.
It is more impactful than I was expecting. I had seen clips, I'd seen like everything out of context, of course, but actually experiencing those first 3 hours, even the fact that you're following Ellie with Dina, who's a character that's new to the game as well, and their banter and their romantic chemistry as they're going around on
Beautiful.
patrol, it's just so
The
seamless.
whole weed
Um,
stuff is
yeah, they find the Eugene's
gorgeous.
weed
This
stash.
is so
Um,
beautiful.
it's great. It's absolutely great. That entire build up. And yeah, it leads to this moment where you're playing as Abby. I mean, I know where it's going, of course, but it's like, oh yeah, you're playing as her, and she gets saved by Joel and Tommy. And they go back to the cabin, and then she, boom, just like everyone figures out, oh, this guy's Joel, and then she just like, shoots him in the leg, and then there's a whole speech and everything. I don't know. It's still shocking. Um, in a way that feels very different from how death is usually handled in the game. Because most of the time, you have those sequences where characters um, are just killed off screen, or the extreme moment of violence happens for like a split second before cutting to black. Things like that. It's almost a cliche at this point
Yeah,
of The Last of Us, but here it just lingers on it. And you have that feeling of frustration, and the fact that then you cut back to Ellie and you're playing as her, and it's like maybe there's some chance of saving him,
yeah,
if
they
she
do,
runs
they do.
quicker, you go in guns a blazing, things like that. But there's nothing you can do as a player, and there's nothing she can do as a character. I was surprised by it. But just in general, there is something incredibly cinematic about this entire first part, and the barrage of infected that are running at them, and then the way this chalet is lit, and it's like in this grimy basement. It looks very dirty, and it's all cold with this blue tint. It really does create that oppressive atmosphere. Um, it's quite the opening. It's
Yeah.
definitely quite the opening. Um,
It helps to build those characters as well. You start to understand that that relationship that Dina has with Ellie. It's a bit different. The little banters they have when you go through horse to the outlook. There's so many little moments that, and even if you play the game again, which I think the first time you play the game, if you don't know anything about it, it's just surprise after surprise after surprise, and you're just still trying to get into grips of what you're watching because
mhm,
that is new to the scene. We don't know who these people are. They are talking about someone, but we do not understand it much. When you get to replay the game and experience that with that full knowledge, you kind of now you see the things between the cracks. You see stuff with Tina. You can see the rage in Abby, but you also see doubt in her. She's not like, I don't think you need the second part of the game to understand that Abby is not all rage and aggression.
mhm.
There's looks, there is moments in even that scene in the chalet where she's beating up Joel. where you see there's some that, and we should say as well that the actors that played these characters in the game are just insane. You feel every single emotion
Yeah.
in
Laura
this,
Bailey as Abby, Ashley Johnson as Ellie.
and our
Yeah,
very own
no,
Troy Baker
Troy
as
Baker.
Joel in like cameo. And now that I've actually looked into it a little bit more this time, this was the first time I think I focused on him. Tommy's performance during all this, even when he's like going to comfort Ellie back in the
Mm,
house, and though that moment they share, it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And
mm,
yeah, sometimes when we were talking about games, and I even think I don't remember if we mentioned it or not on the when we talked about season one and the first game, but the character work in The Last of Us is something to behold.
completely, completely. It's something that Naughty Dog has always been great at doing in these games. Like not even Uncharted. Like I didn't play most of the Uncharted games because I didn't have a PS3. But I did play the Jack and Daxter games, and those have fantastic banter. Um, it's something they have perfected over the years. Just making those in between moments from one actual set piece to the other just feel as memorable, as important, as necessary, um, as everything else that happens. In a way, I almost preferred them to all the action sequences because you do need, like you're still playing an action game, you're still playing
Mhm.
a shooter, so you need there to be moments where you actually engage with the game mechanically. But yeah, just give me 1 hour of Ellie and Dina on horseback, just going from house to house or through a supermarket and back again. I'm in for it. I'm there, and yeah, even the aftermath. There's something very economical
Yes.
narratively about this, where it doesn't really waste much time while still managing to add so much character work. They could easily be cut. Like it's not like any of this is actually genuinely essential if someone wanted to look at this as just like pure nuts and bolts of the story. But it is what makes it special. It is what makes the characters likable. Shannon Woodward as well, who plays Dina, I think she's fantastic. What a cast! The music, of course, again. But then the game kind of like moves from Jackson, this prologue, very long prologue in Jackson Winter. It moves to Seattle because that's where Ellie's going for revenge. Something I didn't know is that she's actually going to find Tommy, who's already left Jackson
Yeah.
for revenge. A very, very different beat that I was not expecting compared to what happens in the show. But you have this sequence, these 3 days of Ellie and Dina in Seattle looking for Tommy. Simultaneously, Ellie's looking for members of this WLF, the Wolves, who helped Abby kill Joel. How do you feel about this entire? I don't know how to call it. It's not a chapter. It's like multiple chapters. Just the Seattle experience and everything leading up to it, and how you move around the city, semi-open world at one point, which is
Yeah.
very cool.
So we have the same structure as they adapted to the TV show. So you have it split in 3 days, and there are three very different segments of the game. I think we didn't. It's much different the game from the TV show in this situation, mostly because of one decision that we'll probably end up talking about, which is the way that the shows swap the characters that are with Ellie and Joel when Joel is being killed.
Hmm.
So in the TV show, we have Dina there, and the relationship that Dina has with Joel is much different as well from the one that it has on the
Yeah.
game, which I think it's actually something for the best, but I think it will come at a cost. But we'll talk about that probably later. But I think the gravitas of the character of Tommy really went up because he was there, and it's the fact that he cannot let go, just like Ellie. Even
Hmm.
though he has a sense of community, and even though he wants to stay, uh, he does have the same sense of needing for revenge as Ellie has.
And he
So
witnessed
that's
it firsthand as well. Like he was there.
exactly, he was there. So it's much different. And it's also a bond that now Ellie and Tommy share. They watched like the person they love the most like die in that particular moment together in such a brutal way that it kind of makes it creates a different bond now, even though we are suggested that they very much bonded through those 5 years that they stayed in Jackson.
Yeah.
But when we get to Seattle, the game once again kind of makes you rethink what you expect, because The Last of Us was always like a very straightforward linear game. So you went from A to B in closed arenas, and you went through the levels, you went through the places. It was very linear, even though you had space. The world was very big.
Yeah.
You always had like a scheduled path that you needed to cross. But the first day in Seattle is an open world section in a big part of the city, which kind of made me think, "Oh my god, is the whole game gonna be like this?" And I was like creaming my pants, but it was actually not.
Do you have to
But
check the map every 2 minutes?
yeah, because it's not it's not super easy navigation, and it's slightly bigger than you think it is.
Yep.
Um, Even though there are like only like three or four, five streets at some points, but it's not that much. But the thing is, there is a lot of optional stuff in these places. You don't need to go to them. You don't need to explore. You can just go straight to what you need to do, which I'm pretty sure it's getting gas to put on the main gate, on the fuck Federal gate as they call
Yeah.
it. But that's pretty much it. But no, there's a lot of different stuff that you can do. There's the bank, there is the courthouse, and there you do need to go. But there, music store, which I mean, god damn,
Classic.
classic scene that they very much did justice, I would say. And the TV show, I think it was very beautifully made as well. I think actually Isabela Merced in that scene was astonishing. But there's a lot of stuff spread out, some documents that you need to read that once again give some sense of place to the actual place. It makes you think that, wow, this place actually has a history, and it allows you to explore. But the thing that I like with the chapters, with the day one, day two, and finally day three, is, is that thing. It always has when I feel these chapters, I always think there's a sense of doom in them. It's like everything is sold. We know where we're going, and it's not going to end very well.
Mhm.
Um, and then the game cuts after day three. It's a different game then, and it's the end of the first season. But I do love that exploration of Seattle. It gives it that sense of place that it was different from the first season, which is very like country trotting. Go to Kansas. I don't think it's Kansas in the game, not Kansas, Salt Lake City. But some cities do change, but it's pretty much always the same thing. You go from city to city, from place to place, from town to town, trying to find something. And there you have Seattle. It's a place with history, and you explore that history. So Fedra, the the wolves, the
Seraphites.
Seraphites, then, or the Scars, as the wolves call them. So it's a much different beast from what it is in the first games. It feels larger. It feels like you're a part of something. It's not only Ellie's story that it's counting. Now you have something much bigger going around.
That's something that I've also like Naughty Dog has perfected, that dialogue writing, the characters are being characters. They've also perfected the feeling of games feeling like blockbusters in the genuine way. I was impressed by the scale of this. I was like, I can't believe we have this little open world section, which is great. I think I spent like 2 hours just roaming around the
I've never
streets, going
experienced
to
something like
place.
that, by the way, of a moment in the game where it's like world exploring and then you go back to something different.
Uncharted 4, they did do that
Oh,
twice.
they do. I haven't played Uncharted in a couple of years now. I did not remember that.
It was
Yeah,
like a
Naughty Dog does
trial
like that.
run. Yeah, there's like one
Mm.
part in the fourth game in Africa or something. I remember where you like
Oh, the
have a car and
desert.
just
Yes,
and go
yes, yes.
around.
It's not a desert.
Um,
It's a safari. Yeah.
and even in this in the like DLC I don't remember the names, like
Legacy
the
Among
Lost
Thieves
King,
or something.
Legacy. It's yeah, one of those.
Yeah.
The fourth game DLC, they have an entire middle section that's just like this open world. Like you have to go to these 6 different areas, and one's a puzzle, and one's a combat challenge. I was like, oh yeah, they make it cool,
Okay.
but it feels so dense in Last of Us. And it makes every little interaction, every little moment special. It's like you find a locked door, and it's like, where's the key? You have to find it in the coffee shop from this other place, and just connecting the dots is very fun. But then the way it just escalates with, you go to the TV station, you go to the theater. But it's not only that I really liked. The other thing that I liked are the flashbacks, because at the end of each day, they cut back to flashbacks of Ellie with Joel. And those moments are something that I really like, not only in terms of pacing, because it's nice to break some of the action and the horror, but it also does help with the character, how she's looking back at her own past, at things that happened that are informing why she kind of lost some of the love that she had for Joel, how she ended up ultimately figuring out that, yes, he did kill the fireflies, or it lied to her, straight to her face. And it's very emotional. It gets very serious and very effective, again, in a way that I was not anticipating. I think I said it with the first game already. I was like revisiting it. I thought, wow, this is better than I first thought, like the first time playing it. But for this one already, it's so much better written, better directed. I think the camera work even during those cutscenes, which is something it's almost easy to take for granted, but still, like the framing, the way some areas are lit, it is cinematic in the truest
Yeah.
sense possible. Um, it's great. It's genuinely great, and even those moments of violence, because you have this whole thing where Ellie is looking for Abby's crew, and she ends up finding Nora, the medic, one of the medics of the crew in the hospital. Um, and that sequence where she's attacking
Yeah.
her and torturing her actually for information is brutal. And you see the hesitation, but you also see the rage on her face. And then it cuts to Ellie at the theater with Dina. She gets cleaned up, and you see all the bandages and the wounds, and it's like it's so well made with barely any dialogue. There's no need for talking in that moment, basically. Uh, yeah, I really really loved this entire portion. Um, I find it interesting as well that you have this dual factions inside of Seattle that you don't really know much of yet. Um, because to be honest, like Ellie doesn't care.
That
She's
is
just like,
very much it. Yeah.
she says like fuck Seattle multiple times. She does it. She's like, this is none of our business. We don't know what we got ourselves into. Let's just keep going with our mission. But both her and Dina are in way over their heads, in ways that will culminate later on. I think this is a good point to also transition into the TV show
Mhm.
itself, unless you have any other points specific to the game that you wanted to touch on.
No, just speak on that because I think that it's one of the most interesting sides of the game is the different perspectives that you have from. I mean we'll be talking about to the end of season two. So I think in the second part of the game we play as Abby
Hmm.
and we have a very different mindset than uh, than Ellie because even if Abby is portrayed in the beginning as a brutal, aggressive human being. She has a much bigger sense of community
Hmm.
than Hallie has. I think there is a point in the TV show. I'm pretty sure because it's more recent. In the game, I'm trying to remember, but I think it's something along those lines, which is when someone says to her in the TV show, it's Jesse. I don't remember in the game as of now, but that it's a sense of community, and he says, "I lost my community when Joel died." And there is
Mm.
a something very beautiful about that scene because it kind of makes a contrast between her and Abby. Abby has always had that sense of community, of family with her friends, with her father. And then that was taken.
Fireflies.
Fireflies, that everything was taken away then, and still, when things got bad, she went not the easy revenge kind of path. She went to the other way in a different direction with the characters that we will get to know in the third season. So
Yeah, then let's jump into the second season of The Last of Us. Um, the interesting nature of this show is that they know where things were going. I think we touched upon it when talking about the first season. When they were making the game back in 2013, they didn't know about The Last of Us Part 2, they didn't know where they were going to take it. But with the show, they did have that as a benefit. They explicitly talked about it, where they know where the story is going, so we can put um, more hints, more teases in a way in the first season. I wasn't a particular fan of that. I think just knowing where this, it felt a bit too like winking to the audience when people was like, revenge, let's just say multiple times, like choices have consequences. I wasn't too big on that, but regardless, we got our second season 2 years later, following the release of the first one. What was it like for you, Rafael, watching the second season as such a big fan of the game, knowing where things were going to go, experiencing some of the changes, which are minor in some ways, but minor superficially, I would say. I'm curious how you feel. Because I don't think we've even talked much about it in terms of like our
I mean,
opinions.
we knew that we'd be recording, so I think both of us kind of made the decision,
Fresh, big
silent
surprise.
decision to just stop and not say anything about it. I mean, I think I've said this in the first time we talked about The Last of Us. Yeah, it's very hard for me being objective about
Valid.
anything the Last of Us, both the game and the TV show. But I think one of the big things we were always wondering ever since the first season, and we discussed it, which what way are they going to structure this? Because the most logical way is just to cut the second season, right to the Ellie's switch up in the narrative. And I specifically remember you saying, no, no, they will not be doing that. I'm
I
pretty sure
remember.
they will not be doing that. And what did
I
they
remember
do?
saying the opening scene will be of Abby in the hospital, and I
You
was
did say
wrong.
that. You did. No, no, no. You were not that wrong, though. You were not that wrong because that came like just a couple, or it was the next episode, like opening, or it was the first moments of the first season where
It
you
was
have.
like towards the end of the first episode.
Was it though?
Yeah.
But it was not the opening, but it was not super out of it. So I will give you that because we got a moment where we even discussed it. I think when the first episode second came out, which they kind of opened their hand a little bit too soon on who Abby is. It's one of my like downsides of the TV show. I think it works very well on the Last of Us Part Two, the game. It's you don't know anything about Abby when I mean, you know some hints.
mhm,
We've already
mhm.
played with her before. She like strikes Joel and ruins golf forever. But in the TV show, you know who, and she even tells you. That she tells you and tells Joel who his father is, where father is, and all that.
Of
So
course, we didn't mention Kaitlyn Dever playing
yeah,
Abby
yeah,
in the
we'll
TV show.
definitely get to Diva because once again we had the internet trolls working around both Abby and the actor. Before it was Laura Bailey, now it's Kaitlyn Dever. Um, but yes, there are a few changes in this. Some of them bother me. Some of them I'm willing to see how they pan out.
Okay.
I think we need to give them some benefit of the doubt because I do think they kind of deserve it. I think pretty much every step of the way, some stuff, yeah, here and there, maybe didn't work that well for me, but in the most part, I think they made the best decisions for the characters. And I think if they did, especially, I think this is the main thing. If they did swap the characters in that scene with Joel, so it's not Tommy that sees Joel die, is Tina. I'm hoping, I'm begging them to work that out in the third season, because Tommy is there for a reason, and it works later, and it comes later in the game. The fact that Tommy was there, and it's
which is
pivotal.
so cool. I will say
Yes,
those spoilers. That's so cool. When it gets to that part, I was like, "Oh, I can't believe they're actually doing this. This is amazing. I didn't know anything about this
it's
in the third
pivotal
day."
to like around, not the epilogue, but a little bit before. It's very, very, very important, the fact that Tommy's in that scene. But I'm willing to wait to see what they do with them, because even though Neil Druckmann is a little piece of shit, he does know these characters, and he
It
does know
does.
what to do with them. And I think Craig Mazin as well is helping it out to not get too much into being let's play it just like the game, and it's like it's giving the balance that it's. I think that partnership that they have, it works wonderfully. Honestly, I think it's a pair made in heaven, both Craig and Neil working together. Um, but yeah, there's a few decisions here and there that makes me question what they'll be doing, but I still prefer to keep it. Um, I'm expectant. Let's put it like that. I think it will work out okay, and I think the TV show showed us that we needed to be a little patient, because I've seen the fact that, and it's one of the best things about the things that come out weekly, is that
Hmm.
it gives you room for discussion, but it also gives times for people to behave in not normal ways. People really need to start being normal about The Last of Us. I know I'm no one to talk about, but good heavens. Every
I'll say
week,
you're
without,
pretty normal compared to some of the things
I
I've
think I am.
read online.
I honestly, I think I am, because every week it's like, oh, this is not about. It's not like, oh my god, they are ruining the Ellie. This ruins everything, and it does not. You just need to wait a little bit. Just stop
Poor
being a
Bella
little
Ramsey.
bitch.
Jesus.
Yeah, poor Bella Ramsey. But yeah, talk to me about your experience, because you've experienced the game in a much different state of mind that I did.
Yeah, it's something
So
I
it's
did
different for you.
very different. It's the same thing I did for the first season, actually, where I ended up watching the first season and then playing the game for the first time. I ended up well, not choosing per se. Like the game went on sale online after as the second season was airing. So I was like, let's just get it and wait for the season to be over before actually jumping into the the game itself. And I have to say, my thoughts did shift about TV show from before watching before playing the game and after. I have to say I really don't like this season of The Last of Us. Um, I think they've made some very baffling choices, and it's not so much narrative choices; it's character choices. Um, I was watching the first 3 episodes with my family, and they were very annoyed by the characters. And then I was talking to some friends who were watching the show who don't know the game, and they were very annoyed by the characters. And I was like, no, 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 but just stick with it. Just stick with it. I don't know a single person that has seen the show without knowing the game who actually wants to continue watching it. Personally, I can see why. And what surprised me is that the game is very different. More so in the fact that I just really don't like how they characterize the whole Ellie and Dina relationship,
Hmm.
which is interesting because in the game, of course, they are played by 30 plus year old women pretending to be 19-year-olds, which is fair. In the show, they're actually played by 19, early 20-year-old actors. And I think they're like, I was very positive with Bella Ramsey in the first season. I do like Isabela Merced a lot. I think even like everything she's made from the Sicario 2 to I think she was Dora the Explorer in the movie or something like that. Like she's been a very good actress. Um, I think they're very well cast, both of them. I don't know why they decided to have them be much more juvenile, especially turning Ellie into this almost dumb character, um, while also removing any sort of character conflict between them. There is something in the way, and it's very interesting to just compare like specific scenes from one to the other. I think the scene when Dina finds out that Ellie is immune, like actually immune. You have the whole build up, you have the joke during the weed plays, like, I'm immune, shut the fuck up, what are you talking about? And then actually proving it. And that's the moment when Dina reveals she's pregnant, and there's this conflict, and the reaction of Ellie is different from how Dina reacted to the truth coming out about her immunity. They need to take a step back. And it's like, okay, this is interesting character work. Like, this is not mature. They're not reacting in a mature way, but they're reacting in an adult way, which makes sense for people who have grown up during this insane apocalypse. In the show, that I don't know. There's the best way I can use it to describe it is that it feels so much like a CW type teen show.
At some points, I can see that. Yeah, it's
um,
juvenile. At some points, because they are actual teenagers in this. Though I think Ellie much more than Dina.
yeah,
I think
and
Isabela
it's a choice
Merced.
by Craig Mazin. Like I was listening to interviews with
Mm-hmm.
him where he was like, "Yeah, like Dina is the smart one, and Ellie is more, she's more impulsive and just running into things. She doesn't really think about something." It's like, I mean, I get it.
I don't
Also,
think it's
but
very well translated in that sense.
yes,
Yeah.
it backfired. Um, Even in terms of choices, like I mean, it's cute. There's like a moment early on in the first season. That's the moment, first episode, I think, where my family was ready to drop the show already. When they're going into the supermarket, and like Ellie and Dean are talking about like how to stab the zombies by just making faces to each other, which felt so, no, it's not out of place. It's just like it was like, what's the tone of this show now? And it turns out it was like a roundtable interview where it's something the actors were improvising, and it was fun and cute, and it made sense for the characters. We just decided to do it like that. It's like you can direct the show and write the show and say, actually, yeah, it's cute that you're thinking this, but it doesn't fit. Doesn't work.
I'm not sure if it does not fit. I think, yeah, I do agree with you. There at some points there is some imbalance in the way that the tone is being delivered. Because one thing we talked about in the first season, talking about what we could expect for the second season, which was it would be much more violent and
Yes.
brutal, which I think it is. I think it came to be. I think there are moments of big violence and brutality spread through this, and maybe it's just a way to counterbalance that a little bit and try to make the show palatable for almost everyone.
Hmm.
And I do agree with you that if probably I wasn't as invested in these characters, not because of the TV show, but because of the game, maybe I would also be maybe not as convinced as I am. But since I know these characters in a different way, and I've been with them for so long, most of those scenes, it did felt like the Ellie that I have in the TV show. It's not the same Ellie that I have in the game, which I don't mind. Let's say I don't mind that. I know what I prefer, but it will not be a deterrent for if I enjoy the show or not. You can give me a different character and to do the exact same things, but maybe with different motivations, maybe with different ways of acting, of what makes sense where. And it does work for me anyway. And it did. Though, though I do agree with you that at some points there is some moments where you are like, I don't think this works super well here. I think there was a moment people picked up that they fucking hated their guts, and I think that was kind of an overreaction. But there are other moments where I would agree with you.
Yeah, and just like even the entire sequence with Jesse in the final episode, I think, when they see the Seraphite has been captured,
Yeah,
and she's like, "We need to save him." It's like, why? Why would you save him? There's like 6 people. There's 2 of you. How are you gonna even do that? It's something that would feel impossible in the game, even
Yes, exactly.
potentially.
That is a much more
It's,
Abby thing to do than Ellie stuff. That is completely true.
yeah, I don't know. Like it's interesting that they thought that Craig Mazin, because apparently Neil Druckmann was not as involved with this season as he was with the previous one. I think he really jumped on for the last couple of episodes or so. He did
The
direct.
direct,
Uh,
beautiful episode, by the way.
Beautiful episode. I do kind of wish they did keep the game's sprinkling of the flashbacks throughout.
Yeah.
I think that would have helped. I think that would have helped even just casual viewers to be like, okay, well, at least each week we have a little bit of Joel to keep going, some sustenance to go on. But that's the moment where the character writing almost completely switches. It's like now this is actually feeling as it did in the first season. It has that charm. It has that the nice chemistry between the actors. I do wonder if it is just Neil Druckmann's direction. But it's like, yeah, those are my characters. I know how to handle them. I know how to talk to the actors to handle those sequences. It is also almost bit for bit with the game. And I will say, and this is something I want to talk about, is just like things that are new to the show that I think are better. I do like the Eugene addition to actually like see Eugene. Not, I mean, he is played by Joey Pants. Always happy to see him in anything. Born by Heart. I was like, oh my god, it's him. Love him. Um, but also thanks to the show structure, something I had a problem with in the first season was that you don't spend that much time with Joel and Ellie because like the side characters end up feeling more interesting than they do. In this season, we spend more time with the actual protagonists, but we do get Isaac. We actually get a character who's in 2 scenes of the game, which shocked me. I was like, you get Jeffrey Wright
They
for
could
two
only do
scenes.
these. Yeah.
Good for you. But then in the show itself, no, we get more of him. We will have more of him in the third season, and I'm so happy about that. I think is great. I think the opening sequence in the third episode with the Fedra truck,
Yeah, it's an amazing scene.
excellent. The torture with the pan, disturbing as hell. Like all of that, I was in for it. I think that's when the actual episodic structure of the show works.
I think this
I'm
show does take a few episodes to get in the grounds as well.
I think it just takes. That's the other problem I had after playing the game. It's something I mentioned before. It's like the game is so economical, despite being it's a bit too long. I'm feeling it. I'm like almost 20 hours into the game. I'm still finishing it. So I was like, okay, let's just wrap it up, guys. But narratively, at least it's always moving somewhere. And the first 3 episodes, I get what they're going for. We need an episode to set up Jackson and the characters in Jackson and Dina and everyone who's new. We need the therapist, Catherine O'Hara. I guess I like her fine. I don't think she's necessarily such a great or necessary addition to the show. Um, Everything just feels stretched out a bit too much. Even the death of Joel, it's so much longer in the show. Like the way that Abby's doing her monologuing, it is actually like minutes of her talking. In the game, it's just a few seconds, and it cuts her off, and then there's the violence happening. In here, it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't help her much. I think even the way they shoot it, it's very flat. I think that's a problem I have with this season in general. Everything looks a bit too clean, a bit too flat. Like compared to Chalet, like super nicely
Yeah,
lit,
the
all
lighting of
white.
that scene was awkward.
Yeah, and then you have the grimy blue tinted basement of the house in the game. It's night and day. Um, I don't know why the choice of like it also felt so awkward. I think Kaitlyn Dever is very well cast. I think she does the best she can in a role. She is in less parts than I was expecting. I thought she would be in the season more. I thought they would use her more. But I think she stands out. It's a testament to her acting that she manages to make a very awkward dialogue. That entire revelation already in the second episode, like who she is, like why do we need this now? The introduction of the character as well is very flat. They can't like
There is something that we've seen before.
she just like I don't know, it just like cuts to them and they're like burying people, and to the point that my parents were like, wait, Were they in the
We've
first
seen
season?
this before,
Have you
yeah.
seen this before? It's like, who are they? I don't remember. It's like, no, they're new characters, but they're not introduced as such. I don't know. There's something very uncinematic, which is so weird considering how
The game.
gorgeous the game is and well directed and the framing and everything. And here it is like the CW. Like, we don't have time, we don't have money, which they do. That's the crazy thing. They have time, they have money, they spend so much energy
Yeah,
in
they
some of those
spend half of the
sequences,
budget on the second episode, though. That
which is
whole war
insane.
sequence, it's like,
Which is another addition that I like. You know, I don't love it. I don't think it's super necessary, but I like that they were thinking, okay, we need to find an extra justification as to why no one in Jackson would want to go
go
find
out.
those
Yeah,
killers. Yeah. I was like, what do? We just destroy Jackson, kill
yeah.
half of the population, have this super Game of Thrones battle with the infected coming in. It's nice. There is some bizarre plot armor on Tommy. Good for him, I guess. Uh, but that's when the change comes in, where it's like, okay, you need to have Tommy in the town because he has to protect the wife and the kid. You can't have him be with Joel. So
Yep.
they have Dina there, and they turn Dina into this daughter figure, which works, but then it almost makes her feel more interesting and important than Ellie at times. Isabela Merced is very charismatic as well, and they give her a lot of nice dialogue and things to say and do. Where I was thinking, actually, like, I want to spend more time with Dina than Ellie.
Yeah, I would say that Dina and Isabella are the standouts of the whole season.
And I did like Jesse as well. I don't remember the actor's name. I apologize. I like him in the game as well. Actually, I don't see
Who?
many people talking about him. Jesse,
Young Mazin.
um, Young Benzino. There you go. There you go. Just very fun.
Yeah, very
Um,
good.
very charming, but in a very natural way. He's not trying too hard. He has a good presence. Um, but yeah, like, I don't know. I also don't really like how they turn him into a father figure. The
I
show
wasn't against that. He always had that feel on the game as well. I think maybe not
it felt more like
as
older
explicit,
brother
but
in a
yeah,
way, older brother type figure. In here, they really do hammer home wanting to have these characters be like children. And it's like, 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 are you gonna let the adults do it, or no?
yeah.
We're gonna go in the supermarket and handle this. Like, oh yeah, we're gonna show those adults that we are also old enough. There's the entire sequence where, again, very awkward, where you have the stalkers and Dina is in the cage and Ellie's shooting at them with two guns at a time. It's like, this looks so weird to have her go like guns akimbo. And then Jesse comes and saves them and they go out. And again, um, I don't know, it just feels so weird. It was just been a weird season. Very conflicting thoughts.
I think it as I stand by what I said. I think there's some changes that they did, not the tone thing, but some narrative stuff that they changed that might come back to bite them in the ass. But I think it will work out because I do think they have this planned out.
What do you
Uh,
think are some of those parts I'm interested in? Well, if we're getting into more spoilers for the game
yeah,
as a whole, people beware. I'm just
I
very curious.
I'm not sure what they will do. I really am not. Because and it's the thing that I'm wondering is the
Mhm.
whole Dina and Tommy thing. I don't know how they will switch that up, or how will they push Tommy if they will to behave the way he will behave in the probably what it will be the third season or the fourth because it does come very late in the second game. So I'm not
Do you
sure
f-
will they do it.
do you think we need a fourth season? Because I'm playing the game, I'm almost done, and I'm
Yeah,
thinking, this, if they don't do, and that's the other thing I don't like about just how shows are made nowadays, it takes so long.
yeah,
Takes so long. It shouldn't take 2 years for Last of Us season 3 to come out.
yeah.
It
I,
probably will. They don't have scripts ready. They
yeah.
have to write the scripts, plan everything, pre-production, post-production. Like, we're gonna see this we're gonna be back in 2027 talking about season 3 probably. Um, how are we going to sustain people's interest
they will
and
not.
just
They will.
for
That's the thing. They will not. They lost viewership, and we know about that. But I think that would be expected because a lot of people did watch this for Pedro Pascal,
true,
and
true.
without him, it would be expected. But I don't think that knowing that Joel will not be here and having to wait 2 years for a third season, I think that will bite them in the ass and will not be able to do a fourth if they need to. If do they need to? I'm not sure. There is Abby's story is much more dense than Ellie's.
The
They
first day is like a video game in its own right. I was like, how are we still in the first day? Like, shit keeps happening here. It's not finishing. It's like, my
Abby
God.
has a lot in her plate, and Abby will, and I'm pretty sure this will happen because you know that in Abby's part of the game there is much more context in what is happening between the Seraphites and the wolves,
Yep.
and
Yep.
I'm having the feeling that it will be even denser in the TV show because it's something that does translate a little bit better in TV. It's the like the warfare, the factions, the war of it, and I think they will try to expand on it because you do get a lot of that in The Last of Us Part Two of the game, but it's still a very like companion piece as like you they play with it. So in the first game you have Ellie and Joel, and in the second game you have Ellie alone or with Nina, but then Abby does have her own Ellie, which is Lev, which is that I'm dying to see in the second. And I was interested to see that they did not show what they're gonna do with Lev in the third season because it's not a character that's been introduced as of now. I think, or it's one of the kids, which I don't think it is. I don't think it does strike the age of the people that we see through the TV show, or the Lev character has not been yet introduced. So I'm
I don't
not
think
sure.
they've cast anyone as well, which I
Yeah,
think will be the most challenging thing.
it
Because
probably will. It's very
personally,
specific.
Lev, favorite character of the game,
Yeah, yeah.
uh,
It
great.
would it would
Alwyn, great. Mel, every man here, everyone. Like, I was playing Abby's portion to the point that I was thinking, you know what would have been actually great? Last of Us Part 2, and you start by playing just as Abby, and then you switch to Ellie in the second half. That would be interesting. Imagine, like, because it's happened before in games, where you have a switcheroo, character switcheroo, halfway through. The most memorable one before Last of Us was Metal Gear Solid 2, um, which also upset fans, and everyone was hating it, and now it's considered one of the best games of all time and one of the best stories. And I think the same is gonna happen, and it's already happening with Last of Us Part 2. But I think it would have been so cool to maybe you start playing as Abby and you have that entire experience, and then you see what's happening. Oh my God, it's Ellie. What's happening with Ellie? Cut back to the opening basically of the game, and you have that entire section. And you are, I don't know, I think switching it could have been interesting, but also, again, no one would buy it because you're not continuing explicitly the story of Ellie and Joel. And
and
I
I
mean, it's
think you would
marketing,
lose a
and I
little
get
bit
it.
as well. There is a point to that decision, mostly in the game because the TV show is mimicking the game in that sense. At least the structure of it.
It does feel funny that people were shocked about the switching perspective when, yeah, no one's gonna spend that much money on having you play as a character with their own moveset for just 30 minutes of game early on.
Yeah,
There's more there, people.
but I
Uh,
think you the connection you make with Abby is mostly because you hate her so much to that point that when you get to her, she needs to win you over, and I think it does work a little better when you have it in that order. But I think that everything that surrounds Abby is, as of now, more interesting than anything that's the part of Ellie. You do love Ellie from the first game, but this is not the same Ellie. And I think, and kudos to Neil Druckmann for that, is that he built such a strong character in Abby that I never felt the need to at any point go back to Ellie. If anything, I was disappointed when I went back to play with Ellie.
oh no, the farm! No.
Yeah,
It is something that I think is potentially going to either really, really help them or really screw them over with the show. Because also, like Kaitlyn Dever, um, historically, she was supposed to play Ellie
yeah,
in the film
yeah, yeah.
adaptation that
When
was
it was
cancelled.
happening, yeah,
so to actually have her now in the show involved in some way, very charismatic actress. Um, I'm sure she's gonna do a great job in the first season. I think she has the chops for it. I do find kind of, yeah, like the whole like physique thing. It was funny listening to their decision, which is not the choice actually they made, but they said in the interviews, um, they're like, oh, in a video game, you need the characters to play and feel different, and that's why Abby has the muscles, just because she has to play differently. But in the show, you don't need that. I was like, well, there's part of the character is also that, she's going into this like building up and bulking
It's
up. But
very
it's fine.
vain.
It's fine.
I mean,
It's
I
fine.
don't think it's a problem, but I think it's kind of a
I
bullshit answer. It,
I
it
don't.
never bothered me that Abby does not is as built as she is in the game, though it does play narratively in the game.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
it never
and it feels
bothered me.
weird. I know some people were just like weirded out. It's like, this little kid as well. I can't like getting someone who looks like a kid. Um, I
I don't
think it's
think that
interesting.
is.
I mean, it's something that's kind of unavoidable. Um, just when you get. I mean, I appreciate that they want to respect in some way the age of the actual characters more so than the age of the actors, because again, like we said in the game, they are 30 plus years old. I think Ashley Johnson is maybe even
Ashley
40 years
Johnson,
old.
maybe, yeah, I'm pretty sure she's
Um,
in it for, and I think Troy as well is, like, but Joel is much older, but I think even
it's like the
Troy
opposite with
is,
Joel. Yeah,
yeah,
it's much younger than that. Um, but yeah, no, there's always going to be something a bit weird about that, I guess. But yeah, yeah, we'll see how that goes. Are you optimistic about season 3?
I am, because I think most of the decisions that they did, I think they were, if not the correct ones, it was something that it made me not lose hope, I would say. And mostly because when I wanted a season 2 for this TV show, it was not for the Ellie part, it was for the Abby
Uh-huh.
part. So I'm much more anticipating the third part of this, because my favorite part of the whole Last of Us thing is the relationship between Lev and Abby.
And
So
Yara
yeah, so
and
and
that whole thing.
there my favorite scene from the whole game, it comes from that moment. It's the bridge one.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, it's
I
great.
mean, it's a beautiful moment in every sense of it. So, and I'm really eager to see what they do with it.
They have confirmed
Um,
it will happen. Neil Druckmann has said it.
well, they will
It's
be
like
doing the
there's
skyscraper.
one wide shot where it's like in one wide shot you can see skyscraper and the little
Okay.
crane
Oh
between him.
yeah,
It's like that's gonna
there
be
is
very important.
that as well. Yes.
I am. There's one part that I really didn't like in the show,
Mhm.
and it comes in the last episode.
Yeah. Can I try
We
to think what it is?
go for it.
I it felt so awkward. I'm not sure if this is the thing that you said that you were weirded out, but it definitely was something that bothered me. It was when not Abby, Ellie is on the boat, and the boat magically goes to the wrong island, and then she's okay. She's picked up. They were doing stuff to her, and then she was like, "Oh, this is a way to introduce the other part. Okay, now let's go to the proper boat and to the proper island." It's like this is
It was
not working.
so bad. It was
Okay,
so bad.
that's
Yes, that
okay.
was
It
exactly
was
that.
stupid. It was very very. I don't know what they were thinking. It worked so poorly.
I think one of the things that I was not expecting from the game is that it doesn't get cute
Yeah.
about the two halves. There's never any part where you're like doing something as
Mm-hmm.
Abby, where it's like, "Ooh, who's
Oh,
shooting
there's
me? What's happening? Oh, it's Ellie." Or you don't know it though. They'd never do that, and I was like, "That's great." I 100% they're gonna have. For some reason, they probably thought it was nice to have it, but just like, oh, Abby's gonna do something that's going to start the alarm that saves Ellie. And that's what we're seeing because Ellie's almost
yeah,
being killed
most
by the
likely. Yeah.
Seraphites, and
Yes, yes,
then
yes, most
and
likely.
then they're like, "Oh wait, sorry, we can't continue our ritual. We have to go. Bye. See
Yeah.
you later," and just leave her like that. It's so weird. It's so completely weird.
I hated it. I was watching that's because I'm watching the TV show with my father. It's the only thing that he watches, and I had to stop when she was captured. I had to stop the TV, and How long do we still have? This is not looking right.
It's like, why are
What
we
the
doing
fuck are they
this?
doing? I would prefer them to commit to do something different than to do what they did. It was so bad. It was so stupid. It made no sense, and you gain nothing to it.
And
Nothing, because people do not care as of now of what's happening in that scene, in that situation with the Seraphites
of
and the
course,
WLF. Even I mean, the boats going, the weapons, the explosion in the background. Sure, all good. I'm fine with that, but don't do that because
it's
it
too
looks so
cute.
awkward.
It's
And
too
then she goes
cute.
back. She goes back to the boat. It feels so unnecessarily stupid.
Yeah, there's something to be said as well about the difference in medium when you are playing as Ellie, you are controlling her every action. You as a gamer can only engage with what's happening through violence and through movement. It's so frustrating. Like watching the show, I could understand why people that I know were very frustrated. Just like, why is she doing this? Like, why is she going in the boat? Why is she doing all of this? Makes no sense. Just kill herself. Like, I mean, that's the point of the story, but the way that it's presented, it doesn't work. Like I'm playing the game, and I'm like, oh my god, she's doing the thing, and oh no. Watching the show, it's more like, oh fuck, like why are you doing this, girl? Just
Yeah.
stop, just stop. Um, and yeah, and the last thing I want to say about the season that I was not super big on is also the death of Mel with the baby, and she's asking Ellie to open, like, do a birth. I was like, do we need this?
It felt
Uh,
I didn't hate it, but it did feel a bit out of place.
yes, yes. When just, oh my god, she's dead. Oh my god, she was pregnant. What have I done? That's horrific enough. But to have her like pleading, no, 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 do you have to do this? Please, please, just a little, just a little cut. Just take it out. It's like, why? And it's also, I don't know. It left a bit of a bad taste in my mouth.
Hmm.
I wish we spent more time with Jesse as well. I really like Jesse.
Yeah, me
But
too.
again, he has to die because that's what happens. Like, we could have had more time with him,
I like what
Nice
they did
character.
in the final scene, by the way. It was something that I was worried about, but when will they cut? How will they? But I think I don't know if you agree with this because you're much critical of the TV show than I am, um, and I'm much less objective. Let's put it like that. I do. I really did like how they managed the last moments of the TV show. They committed to it, I think.
You mean with Ellie?
With Ali, the death of Jesse,
I
and
think it was
the
very well
way.
done.
Okay, good,
I
good, good,
think it's
good,
very,
good, good.
very well done. Again, I don't know. Again, it's the Kaitlyn Dever. It's like, oh my god, like energy. I'm feeling better. And like she's already
Yeah, I
commanding.
think she just lights up the screen every time she appears. I love Kaitlyn Dever. I think she was
Yeah,
very, very
yeah,
well cast. I think she made a lot with not that much that was given to her.
one
Uh,
hundred percent, one
I
hundred
think I
percent.
think it was a testament to her acting that the whole scene where she has to tell like Joel who her father is and all that, it was very awkwardly written, and she delivered that like it was fucking Shakespeare. I think she's an amazing actress. I've been very happy to see her cast in this, and I cannot wait to see her what she does. I'm gonna risk it all as of now, and I think that the season 3 will be better than season 2. I
I
think it has
think the
more to
same.
work. I think it has better actors to work on. I do like Bella Ramsey. I do. It's nothing against Bella Ramsey, but I think some decisions that was made for their character, nah, could have
Does it
been
help them?
could have
It
been
really does. I
better.
don't blame them. I think it's
Yeah.
writing problem and direction problems.
Yeah.
Because you see the episode by Neil Druckmann, you can see the joy
Yes,
behind their
yes,
eyes
yes, yes,
again.
yes. No, Abel, I think, had a difficult time to work on. I think the standout of all of this is Isabela Merced. I think she was amazing, amazing, amazing.
She was almost too good for her own good, in a
Yes, at
way.
some points she was making Bella Ramsey look slightly worse. I will tell
You're
you
at
that.
a 10, you have to get to an 8, please,
Yes,
Isabella,
we need
please.
to we need to even this out, but I think there's a lot more to work on season
um,
3,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm here hoping that it does work better. I think it will. I really think it will.
Yeah.
because I think that there is more material to work. I think Dever
The
is an
characters are
amazing
more
actor.
interesting as
The
well. You don't have
characters,
any
exactly.
baggage. You have zero
Exactly.
emotional baggage.
It's new. It's characters that you don't know doing stuff that you'd not expect them to do, and we will have once again that partnership that made us kind of fall in love with The Last of Us, with Abby and Left.
Yeah. I do think I don't even know how they could have found a better way of actually ending the season.
Yeah.
Because I think they must. I mean, I want to continue going forward because I know the game now as well.
Yeah.
As a general audience member, I think the last moment of just Abby waking up, day one, Seattle. Like, I don't know if I would care. Because again, I don't know anyone who cares, who has not played the game, who cares,
Yeah,
who's
that's
like,
fair.
oh,
My
that
dad
looks
was like,
great. I want to be there for the next season that
yeah.
comes in 2 years.
My dad was confused because it was like, what is Seattle Day One? What does that mean?
Yeah.
And I had to explain. Oh, don't you remember when we started with Ellie in Seattle? We also said Seattle Day One. It's like
Yeah.
in the next season, we will experience all of this, but through a better character. I mean, through Abby.
There's no way, but I was thinking about it. I was like, okay, I don't like it. How would I have done it differently? I was like, I don't know. I honestly don't know how you would have had a better ending
I
to
like
be
it. I
like,
think
please come for season 3. There's
yeah,
no way.
exactly. They
There's no
need to
way.
suggest something that it's coming because this story is not yet told. So you kind of need something to push to the next one. I think
Unless.
they could have ended with a bang, but I do prefer to have like the suggestion that actually, and I think that would kind of trigger even more people just to see
If they
that
finish
bang.
it like,
Then
and you
when we get
wasted it,
two
and
years
boom.
later, we get Abby just to get to that again. So
That
now
would have
you
been
will be
fun
going.
though.
I
But
mean,
you need the setup. You do need the setup.
yeah, I don't think everything was in place for that to work properly.
Yeah,
It would
fair,
be
fair.
interesting, but I think this was the better decision. I think.
Yep. Do you have any final thoughts about this season of Last of Us?
This
I
is
know
the
you're
best
excited,
story.
but
I mean, I am
Mhm.
excited. I'm excited. I know the fragilities of this season. I I think I liked it slightly more than I did the first season.
Really, okay,
Yes, but
interesting.
not by it's marginal. I would say it's marginal. Um, I think there is a lot still here too that is interesting. But once again, I'm not sure how much of it is my investment towards the game because now
Mhm.
I have a bigger connection with the Last of Us Part Two because it's a different experience. It's the experience that elevates the first part. So maybe I'm going through it's my nostalgia talking, but there was something about the violence that we see in this season that I think gives, especially Ellie when the Mel scene and especially the Nora scene, the
Mhm.
torture scene, all red lit and all that in a show that sometimes looks kind of shite. At least in that moment, it looked good. I would say.
Power of red
Um,
filters, red
yeah, I mean it
gels.
works. That's the thing.
It does.
It works. It works. But I'm optimistic about the third season. I'm here to hoping that will be better. And I think it is we would always have a third season. I thought it was a guarantee by the start because I've always been adamant that they would do the same structure as they did in the game, and they would not be able to do a second season to the totality of the game. But I do think if the third season it doesn't work, they will not go for the fourth to try because I'm thinking that they might try to extend the epilogue like in a shorter season
I
and
hope
play it in a
not.
fourth season. I'm not sure. I'm really not sure.
I think it's
Uh,
gonna be too expensive to do it in one season, which I get, but also I don't think you can justify a full season. I was reading people thinking, no, we can spend more time in the aftermath before Santa Barbara. I was like, do we need that?
Do we
Do we
need
need like
that?
a
No, I
full
don't think.
episode in the farm?
No, no, we
Do
do
we
not. I,
want
I
that?
mean, there's some moments in this TV show that it showed that when the show slowed down, it actually elevated it both through the Neil Druckmann episode in this season and the Bill and Frank in the first season.
Yeah.
So I think there is some point to these episodes that where everything just quiets down and you just pick up the emotions of the characters that you have there. But I'm I don't know. Maybe they can do like a slightly bigger season because this one was very short, it was 7 episodes. So if they
Yeah.
manage to push it to 10 or 9, 12 would be too much. But I think if they can actually have the 3 extra episodes, so if they do 10, I think it gives them enough time to do everything and the epilogue.
Yeah, I think each day of Abby could be one, maybe two
I
episodes
think it will be 2.
most,
I would. It's much denser
because it's
things
denser.
there
Yeah.
that because if you look at day one in Seattle in the game at least for Ellie, it's like the open world part game, which is not something, but there is a lot of story and a lot of things being told in the Abby days. So
So much. So much.
one day for one episode per day, I. mm,
A
mm,
bit too. Yeah, maybe the third one with just the invasion of the island and everything.
Yeah, yeah. That I think
Mm.
you would have like a full episode of that whole final sequence in the main island in the island. I think that would be much different. It will be like one
They
of
can go
those
full
Game of
Game of
Thrones.
Thrones again.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally, totally.
It's a fire and the villages and really the chaos and all that and the warfare.
Will they
So,
have horses though? That's the question.
yeah,
Will they
they
have
will
horses?
probably have horses. They will probably have horses. I hope so. I do like
Then one final question then. What is your favorite scene? Well, from the game you said it comes in the second half with Abby. Is there a favorite sequence in the game from the first half, the one that's
from the first
depicted in
half.
the show that you
Yes,
like?
yes, I would say so. I will not go for the obvious one, but I think Joel's death is. I mean,
Mm.
it is what it is. There's something to it that just it works. I also love the moments that Dina and Ellie share in the Eugene space with the weed and all that. But if I had to choose one from this Ellie part, at least from slight memory, is the scene where Tommy just after Ellie watches Joel die when Tommy goes to visit Ellie at her house and brings her food and they share a hug
Mm-hmm.
and he's saying that yeah we maybe I don't think we can do just give me one day and like the acting in that in the game is I mean it's
It's so well made.
beautiful it works very well for me on the TV show my favorite moment. Mm,
So many to
I
choose from.
had quite a few. I had quite a few. I think I'll go to the porch one. Yeah, with Joel and Ellie. I love that scene. I think it does sound slightly schmaltzy at some points, but yeah, I think does. Pedro already had some amazing moments in the bar scene where
Oh
when
yeah,
Ellie tells him that she doesn't need him, and you can see his face. It just I think
heartbreaking.
yeah, I think people nowadays kind of discard Pedro Pascal because he's in everything, but it's in those moments that you see that he's actually very, very, very good. And it was in that moment in particular that I kind of was sold on him in this season at least. It was not the porch one. The porch one is my favorite scene, but it's just like the look he has when Ellie is telling that it doesn't fucking either help or something like that. It's
Hmm.
a beautiful thing. It's a very sad thing as well.
Yeah, no, totally. Um,
What about
yeah,
you?
in terms of me for the game, in this section, I do really. I mean, the music store sequence, great.
Yeah.
Little musical moment of haha.
Mhm.
I'll always take it.
I cried
It's
my face off during the game, during the TV show. It kills me. Kills me every time.
structurally, that's another thing I don't really get. is that they have, the in the show, sorry,
Yeah.
is that like there's no real proper setup for the guitar and the songs, and especially when she starts to play at one point
That in
the
particular.
music, the song, and then she stops. Everyone was like, are we gonna have like a musical number in each episode? Where is she doing this? And then she just stops. You don't have the game that literally opens with
Yeah.
Joel getting the guitar and giving it to her and singing to her. The Def Jam, whatever it was, the Pearl Jam, Def Jam, something else, the Pearl Jam song. But no, I do like the musical sequence, but I really like in the game, really love in this part after the death of Nora when Ellie goes back. And
Yeah.
just like that entire sequence and the close up on Dina and Ellie's faces and the scars and the crying. It's so tender and so well made. I was like, this is amazing. This is great. Love it. Love it. It's okay in the show. I think the show does justice to it. I think it's very well replicated. But I did find most of the greatness to come from that Joel-centric episode.
Yeah.
Even though I wish I wish they sprinkled those things out because the porch scene, it's so much harder in the game when it comes at the end.
Yes.
Instead of having it just be its own
The full
episode.
episode, yeah.
Yeah. It's again, it's the little things, it's little changes they've made structurally, narratively, that aren't major as a whole, but just like singularly, they're not that major, but putting it together as a whole, it takes something away from it, I think. But even just the dinosaur and spacecraft
So those
museum part.
moments are just, it will make you cry. It's the thing. If you are invested in these characters, they are made to make you suffer.
Yeah. Which is funny because they are the one-to-one parts from the game.
Yeah.
Like those were great in the show. It's like they're one-to-one. Let's say even the Isaac torture sequence. Like very good writing.
Very good, yeah.
Jeffrey Wright is fantastic. I know people were apparently bothered. I spent way too much time on that subreddit for like 2 weeks when the show was coming out, and then I had to leave it. I was like, people are toxic here.
I cannot deal with Last of Us fan base. I cannot. I love this piece. That's my favorite games of all time, but I cannot take it. I will.
They
not
were
take it.
shocked that the man was naked while being tortured. I
Oh
was like,
my
that's your
god!
problem.
How dare they?
That's your problem.
Yeah, and the other kid was also as well. When Ellie wants to save him,
right.
he's also naked, or they kind of strip him or something like that.
Yeah.
This is your problem. The boy is being burned alive with a pan, and your problem is the dick.
Don't show me the balls, man. That's
Yeah,
too
there's
much.
no balls, just
no
pan.
balls. Just pan. Oh, what a society we're living in.
Yeah, what is this?
What a world. But yeah, I think this is it for this little bonus summer episode of the podcast. Rafael, where can our listeners find you if they want to keep following your adventures in gaming and film?
I mean, at the beach. I hope.
I hope.
Next couple weeks in the beach. But I'm also on Letterboxd, on RJR Felix. Since this is supposedly a literature kind of podcast as well, I'm on Goodreads with same. I'm pretty sure it's the same name. And I'm also on Instagram on RJR Felix. And I also have a website called Fio Condutor. Try to use Google Translate as my boy Nick does.
Yeah, it always works. Only gets better with
the translation.
With these translations. Thank you, AI. I will never
put
say
that on the thumbnail.
It's the intro. It's always gonna have thank you, AI. But yes, you can follow me on Instagram and Blue Sky at NikiGra97, also on Letterboxd at Nicola Grasso. And you can listen and follow this podcast on all streaming platforms, on YouTube. And yeah, stay tuned. Follow us on Instagram if you want to stay up to date to when the episodes actually drop, because officially, after this episode goes live, in 2 weeks' time, we'll be back with regular scheduled programming of books, talking about The Virgin Suicides and Sofia Coppola's Adaptation. So stay tuned for that. We hope you have a fabulous summer, and we'll see you soon. Goodbye.